Okay, in this video I'm going to take a look at the 7 most common claims against employers. So if you're an employer, then you will or should be interested in these 7 claims, which I'm going to take a look at right after this. Okay, the first claim, the first biggest source of claim would be an unfair dismissal claim. The Unfair Dismissal Act of 1977 provides for unfair dismissal and for constructive dismissal, which is also an unfair dismissal claim. Constructive dismissal is where the employee leaves the job and they have done so because of what they claim is the intolerable behaviour or conduct of the employer, and that the employer no longer feels bound by the contract of employment, and in those circumstances the employee leaves the job, resigns, and brings a claim under the Unfair Dismissals Act 1977. The maximum amount that can be awarded under the Unfair Dismissals Act 1977 is 2 years' salary. That, however, is very unlikely. It would be very, very rare. In fact, I don't know of any such cases. Generally, the employee is entitled to financial loss, so he's not entitled, or she's not entitled, to loss for embarrassment or, stress or pain and suffering or anything of that nature. The employee is entitled to the financial loss. So that's essentially the loss of earnings between when they are unfairly dismissed and when they start a new job. Second big source of claims would be discrimination-based claims. These may be in respect of employment, in respect of the provision of goods or services, which the Workplace Relations Commission can deal with. But in the employment context, there are basically 9 grounds of discrimination. These would include family status or civil status, membership of the travelling community, race or origin or nationality, disability, religion, and a number of others. But essentially there are 9, so it's quite common for an employee to bring a discrimination-based claim on one of the 9 grounds. It does have to be, though, on one of the 9 grounds. The third area which is a ripe source of claims, is under the Payment of Wages Act 1991, I think it is. It essentially covers matters like, obviously, payment of wages, the provision of wage slips, and basic compliance with the requirements of the Payment of Wages Act 1991. This is a ripe enough source for claims by employees, and you must remember that when an employee brings a claim under one heading or one act, he may well or she may well also throw in a number of other claims, in the hope, obviously, that the more bullets you fire, the more likely you are to hit the target. So you, as the employer, remember, are the target. The next source of claims to the Workplace Relations Commission and to formerly what was the Employment Appeals Tribunal is under the Organisation of Working Time Act 1997. This act deals with rest breaks, with holidays, annual leave, with the breaks between working one day and the next, and the maximum number of hours that you can work in a particular week, and so on and so forth. So the Organisation of Working Time Act 1997 can be quite technical, and then in addition to the Act itself, regulations were brought in by way of statutory instrument, which makes it difficult, very difficult, for the employer to be entirely compliant. So it's easy enough to fall foul from a technical standpoint of the Organisation of Working Time Act. Another ripe source of claims is under the redundancy heading. So a person might claim that they haven't got any redundancy, they might claim that they haven't got the correct amount of redundancy, or indeed that there was redundancy recognised for their benefit, but they simply weren't paid. So there's also another line of claims which arises where a person is made redundant, but they claim it's actually a sham redundancy. And in fact, what it is is an unfair dismissal dressed up as redundancy. That's another source of claims against the employer. Another source of claims is the minimum terms of employment, or the minimum notice rather, obligations on the employer. So in statute it's set out after a certain period of time, after 13 weeks, that a person is entitled to at least 1 week's notice of termination of their employment. And then the number of weeks that they're entitled to will increase in direct proportion to the number of years that they've actually been in the job. So clearly somebody that's there over, say, 8 years or 6 years or something would be entitled to significantly more notice. So this is another claim that can be brought against the employer, and again it's one that's possibly thrown in along with other claims if an employee goes to the trouble of bringing a claim against the employer to the Workplace Relations Commission. Another very common source of claims is the Terms of Employment Information Act. It sets out the basic obligation on an employer to provide a written statement of certain terms and conditions of employment to the employee within 2 months of starting the job. Many employers, for some strange reason, don't comply with this act, and it is a very, very simple claim to bring, and it is a very, very black and white claim if you end up at the Workplace Relations Commission, because it's just obviously an easily provable fact as to whether the employee was given a contract of employment within the 2 months or not. If not, well then the employee is going to succeed. So they are the 7 main sources of claim. I'm relying there on the report published by the Employment Appeals Tribunal in respect of activity in 2012. They analysed the claims that came in, and also I've had a recent look there at a very, very useful video series on the Law Society website dealing with employment law, dealing with the Workplace Relations Commission and the work of the Workplace Relations Commission. And the head of the Workplace Relations Commission confirmed that the 3 most common claims that they face now would be unfair dismissal, discrimination and payment of wages. I hope you find this video useful. If you do, you might share it or comment below or give it a thumbs up, and you might be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel. My name is Gorry. I'm a solicitor in Enfield. Thanks for watching.